Hi there, this is Charlene with Hooked by Charlene, and I am starting the second tutorial on how to make my upcycled bags that have a rectangle bottom. As you can see from the end of the first video, I have completed the base. It is roughly the same size as this base when I started moving up, and I say roughly because it looks about the same size. But each of the styles of bags are just a little bit different in weight. So these particular bags over here are a little bit thinner and not quite as thick as these bags, so that might throw off the measurements a little bit, but they're about the same size. They are, I use the same amount of stitches and everything like that, so they should be pretty similar. So where I stopped on this one is just a couple of stitches away from the corner here, and I'm just going to finish that so that you can see how I begin to move up the sides. And we're just doing single crochets, putting your hook through the stitch below, pulling up a loop, and then pulling these through too, just like you would any other single crochet with yarn. And I'm going to continue to the end here. And on that corner, where we would normally with this pattern do 3 crochets in the same stitch, we're not going to do that on this one. This one we're just going to end with one single crochet into this stitch. And then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go all the way around just single crocheting. So on the corners, we're actually going to take out these stitch markers because we won't need them anymore. We're not going to do any more increases. But on this row only, we're going to crochet in the back loop only. And the reason that we're going to do that is we're going to go up from there. If you've ever made a bag before or made a box or a bin or something like that, you've probably seen this before, or a hat. You've seen the back loop only. Sometimes for front loop only, you'll get like a ridge effect. But for this one, we're going to do back loop only, and then we'll actually be flipping this and working up from here. So I'll show you how to do that. So this back loop here, I know it's white so you can't see it very well. Normally we would crochet through these 2 loops. We're just going to do this one here. So I'm going to put my hook. It's going to be stubborn on me. Oh goodness. All right, sometimes this one is just a little bit tight on this corner. So we're going to go just through that back loop, and we're going to keep going from there, just through the back loop. We are still going to use this first stitch marker so that we know what our first stitch was, because from here on in the pattern, we are going to join with a slip stitch at the end of each row and continue up, instead of going through as a round and just a continuous round. We're actually going to join at the end. So I'm just going to keep going again through the back loop only, and you can see this would be the front loop, this would be the back loop, and we're just going to go through the back loop. You can kind of start to see a little difference where you would normally go through both loops. You don't see any ridge. On this one, you can see that the front loop is not used. And on this one, you can kind of see all the way around on the base of this that there's just that exposed. So that it kind of causes a little separation so that you can continue to see your sides moving up as you go along. So I'm just going to do a couple more stitches here, and then continue around off camera so that you don't have to watch me do quite so many. And I will pause here and see you in a few minutes. Okay, so as you can see, I've gotten to the edge here where I have come to my corner. I am going to show you how I'm going to do the corner on this first row around that will be us going up. So I'm going to finish these last 2 stitches, and actually I'm going to skip the corner stitch. So the one that has the stitch marker in it, I'm actually going to skip that stitch. And the reason that I started doing that is to kind of tighten up that corner a little bit and cause it to start moving up instead of staying flat. It'll take a while once we start doing the rows around because we're not adding anymore, but it'll stay kind of flat for a little bit before it starts kind of moving in an upward direction to make the actual bag. So I kind of help that along just a little bit by skipping these corners on the first time around. So I will crochet to the corner here and then show you that again on the purple corner. And then we can actually take those stitch markers out or leave them in. It doesn't matter because we won't be using those ones anymore. We will only be using the orange corner, which signified our very first stitch in our rounds. So I will continue to go around here. And again, if you need to see that, I'm going to go through and just through this back loop and through the back loop and through the back loop. You'll notice probably that my hook is a little bit dirty, and I would like to let you know that these bags are going to be dirty. There's really no way to clean them before you start working with them, but these bags are really easy to clean once you get done with them. You can just wash them with soap and water. I think that really dish soap in warm water is really the best way to go, and then just let it air dry. If you're in a sunny area, letting them dry in the sun is great. Just make sure that you kind of rotate them and they don't sit in water because the droplets and everything will start to accumulate under them, and that'll be harder for them to dry out. And there's lots of nooks and crannies in these, so you want them to dry somewhat quickly, but you definitely don't want to put them like in the washer and dry or anything like that. But pretty easy to clean with just dish soap. You can use other soaps too, but I know that dish soap is gonna like degrease and that kind of thing, and you never really know what's on these bags, but you want them to be clean. So I'm just gonna continue around, and on the next corner, I'm just going to skip this stitch just like I did on the other ones. So you're going from this stitch to this stitch, and you're gonna skip the one that your stitch marker is in, and then I will meet you back over at this orange corner so that I can show you how to join, and we'll move on to the next row. All right, so we've now almost completed the first round of what will be our sides for the rectangle upcycle bag. I just have a couple more stitches before I get to our first stitch here, so I'm going to go ahead and complete those in the back row only on this round. This is the only round that will be back row only. And then from then on, we just have regular single crochets. And here is my last one. So one thing that I do want to show you is what this looks like. So on my last single crochet, which was this last stitch here, you're gonna see what looks like a stitch, but it's not. This is where we connected, and it's going to look like this on every corner when we start to move up. So I'm going to take the stitch marker out for just a moment, and I'm going to join this with a slip stitch. So I'm just putting a loop through here and bringing that loop through this one and pulling tight. And then to go up to the next level, I'm gonna do one chain, and then I'm gonna single crochet this one here, and then you'll see that this starts the next level. So now we're going to be finishing a round and then increasing up to the next level. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So now you see the first stitch of the next level, but you'll also see that this is a a slip stitch into this, and then this one is the chain to move it up. So that just increases it up one. This one finishes the last row so that it's a complete row around. All right, I'll start with a couple of stitches, and again, this is just regular single crochets, pushing your hook through here, grabbing that loop, bringing it through, and then putting one loop through those two loops. So yarning over and bringing it through, yarning over and bringing it through. You'll find this a little bit tougher to work with than a regular yarn might be. Depending on the type of hook you use, this plastic bag might not glide as well. I'm pretty specific anymore about what bags I can crochet because some of them are a little bit stickier. Some of them just don't flow on the hook very well. So you'll find your own way. I think that it's really up to personal preference and what you have the ability to do. My hands get a little bit tired of doing this, so I can't do it all the time, but I love making these bags, so I will continue to make them and hopefully share them with people that will love them. I'm just going to continue this whole round, and then I will show you the next one, probably the next couple, so that you kind of start to see the shape that it takes. You can kind of start to see a little bit right now. The corners are a little bit rounded. These won't start to pull up until a little bit later, but because we did the back loop only, it kind of helps to push that up, and that's why we do that on the bottom here. So you'll start to see it a little bit better as we go along. So I'm going to pause and I will meet you at the next round. All right, I am almost done with this second round going up. And again, you kind of start to see these corners coming up. And I wanted to mention again that from now on, we are not skipping anything in the corners. We're just single crocheting around the whole round. So we're going to finish this one up. And then I'm actually going to pause again once I show you again how to finish this round. And then I will meet you back when I've done a couple more rounds and you can see how it's starting to play out a little bit. As I mentioned before, it does stay sort of flat for a little while before the edges start coming up, but I just want you to be able to see what that looks like so that you know that you're not doing anything wrong. Even I feel sometimes like I'm doing it wrong and that it's never going to start coming up. And it really takes quite a few rounds before the sides start actually looking like sides. So we're almost at the end here where I will show you the join again. So once again, this one is our last stitch. And it looks as though we have these two stitches left and they're not stitches that we're going to crochet into. This one's a little loose here, so it looks even more different, but it's good for you to see that there are kind of different ways that things are going to look. So again, I'm going to pop this out for a minute, and I am going to just pull this through and pull it through here, joining here with a slip stitch, and then I'm just going to crochet a chain and then a single crochet to make that go up to the next level, the next row, the next round, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to pop this back in so that we know where we are. and start my next round. All right, and we'll see you again once I have another couple of rounds on. And I'm back. We haven't quite gotten to the 2 rounds that I was going to do before I started recording again, but I did run into something that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and that is when I have knotted things. If you have watched my tutorial on how to make the plarn, the plastic yarn that we're using to make this bag, you saw that when something splits or tears, I just put a knot in it and keep going. So when that happens, when you start crocheting, you'll see that sometimes there's a little thing here that pops out. So you'll notice that in a couple of places, like on this bag, there's a little, what I call fuzzies. They kind of pop out here and there, and they don't really bother me very much. It's just kind of the nature of the thing, but you can actually just cut them off or crochet over them. Either way is totally fine. Just make sure that you don't cut the knot and that your knot was tight when you made your plastic yarn. So I'm just going to crochet right over it, and if it does not stay into my stitch, then I'll just cut it off. So we're just going to continue on until I get to that point, and then I will just crochet right over it. Oh, sometimes it just pops right in there anyway, but I see it's still here, so I'm going to crochet this stitch, and then because it's kind of tucked in with this one, I'm just going to make sure that I tuck it through. And now it's kind of laying with my next stitch as well, so I'm just going to tuck that through. And now it's completely hidden in this one. So again, sometimes as you're using your bag or continue crocheting and moving this around a little bit, those will pop out here and there. It's not going to hurt anything if you just cut it off. So if it really bothers you and you don't want it there, you can just cut it off and it's no big deal. So as you can see, it's only about, well, I guess I'm almost done. No, this is only one more round from the last time that you saw. But again, it's starting to shape up a little bit. It's still a little bit flat, but I'll go ahead and keep going, and I will see you in the next couple of rounds. All right, so I've put 2 more rounds on since the last time that you saw the project, and I am actually at the end of my current ball of materials, so I'm going to stop here. But as you can see, the sides are still a little bit flat, but the ends are starting to come together. So as you continue, you will see that this will start moving up just like this one did, and I promise these flat sides will start coming up as well. In the next video, what I'm going to do is actually switch to this project since I'm so much further along with this one and it is the same pattern, so that I can show you how to create and attach a yarn shoulder strap like this one. This one's actually going to be for the project that I've been working on with you. However, I am going to create a new one for this one, and I'm kind of inspired by spring colors right now. Since Easter is actually coming up pretty quickly next week. Well, by the time you see this, it actually might be Easter. So what I'm going to do is 3 strands of yarn, and I'm going to do these 3 for a yarn strap on this one. And I think it's going to be really fun, and I can't wait to show you. See you next time. Bye-bye.